placed Adam in a garden to rule and reign as the king, and this garden manifested on earth. But the minute he ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the day of death opened up. The clock started ticking. Time has a beginning and an end. Time has definite appointed seasons, and time is where God works his eternal purpose to finally bring man unto rest. But this pattern for time was also set in Genesis 1, when Moses asked to see God's glory. And this is also the guarantee set in place that the end would be rest. For God counted the cost before he built the tower. So the minute Adam ate, time opened up. 4 is the number of earthy, and only on day 4, the sun and the moon and the stars, which produces time, was created. There was light 4 days even before the sun was created. There was plants before the sun was created. The days in Genesis cannot be reckoned as 24-hour days like we have in the natural in time. With God, 1 day is 1,000 years, and 1,000 in perfection is a perfect period. So there were 6 perfect periods in creation, but these form also the patterns of time. And it's all about division and then fulfilling unto rest. Before the sun and the moon and the stars were created, there was a division between light and darkness. On day 2, there was a division between water and water, and it formed a firmament, or the second heaven. On day 3, there was a division between water and land. Water is always provision, and land is solidness. And vegetation came even before there was a sun or the moon or the stars. And then started the filling. The sun and the moon and the stars on day 4. Day 5, the seas and the skies were filled. Day 6, the land was filled. And then day 7 would be rest. The pattern was light, water, land, preparation, light, water, land, filling unto rest. And on the 6th day, man was created, and God said, do not eat. The other tree, the fruit would be for meat. Meat is obedience, because Jesus came and he said, my meat is to do the will of the Father. Adam disobeyed God. In disobedience, he plunged all of creation into the day of death, or the detour of time. Time has a beginning and an end, full of appointed and set times. This pattern in Genesis 1 is the guarantees that God will do what he said he will do. There is no shadow of turning with him. Yet before the cross, we know the law is a shadow of the good things to come. We read about the shadow of death. All the types and the shadows are before the cross, because that is also the time of preparation. On day 4 in Genesis 1:14, when God created the sun and the moon and the stars, there is a lot of revelation in this verse. He said, God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from night, and let them be for signs, seasons, and for days and years. So first there was a division between night and day. The first division on day 1 was between light and darkness. And on day 4, we have a division between night and day. Time has a night and a daytime. Jesus said the people that sat in darkness saw a great light. Hosea says he will come to us like the morning. And after the cross, it is today if you hear his voice. And his mercy is new every morning. Mercy could only came after the cross. That's why before the cross, everybody went down to the pit in the shadow of death, a place of awaiting. But when Jesus rose from the dead, he opened that place. For he gave himself once more unto creation. It was the final separation on the cross. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Woman, there's your son. He left his mother and his father to cling to his bride. When he rose from the dead, he opened the prison And the last person in was Judas. The first person out was Judas, because Jesus paid the price, and 70 AD was the judgment of the world. Before the cross, there's a progressions of divisions. And the first we find in John 1, when God sent himself forth. He sent forth his own spirit. He divided himself. And on day 1, he divided light from darkness, which is the realms that he created. On day 2, he divided water from water. And this sets the pattern for the calling of Abraham, because 2,000 years after Adam, God called Abraham and he said, Genesis 17 verse 7, I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and thy seed after thee. There is a natural seed line and a spiritual seed line. The New Testament starts with this spiritual seed line. Jesus, the son of David, the son of Abraham. And then he goes on. Abraham begat, and he goes through all the generational seed lines. But when we step into Christ, we do not step into the generational seed line. We have nothing to do with the shadow. They were the foundation of the house that Moses built. And Jesus came and said, break that thing down, because they were totally deceived and they became an abomination, which formed the gross darkness after the cross. The light has come and darkness couldn't prevail, yet there was a gross darkness for a time when the old was removed, because the new could not come while the old was still functioning. Abraham was the father of faith, and when he slaughtered the kings, Melchizedek appeared nations, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. And Moses was this builder of the house. When Abraham was willing to separate himself from his son, that's the minute Christ was already crucified, and he became the father of faith. So when he says Christ was crucified from the foundation of the world, he doesn't say the foundation of the earth, the foundation of the world. The world is when the earth lines up with the purposes set down in Genesis 1. So 2 Peter 3 talks about the world before the flood, the world that is now built for fire, and we know 70 AD, the world of the law was done away with through Rome, which was the rod of iron. But Ephesians says, glory be to God in the church, a world without end. So the end of the world that the Bible deals with is the law world, not our world. We are in the church, we're his body. We can't end. Time will end, but the church can never end.